Now, our guest tonight has been the Deputy CEO of Eskom, a Chairman of Transnet. These are two state-owned companies regarded as integral to the growth and the broader development goals of South Africa and indeed the Southern African region. Now, he's taken the lessons learned in a transforming economy into private business, where he has assets in gaming, in property, in media, and we're going to talk about some of those right now. We're probing the heart and mind of Dr. Bongani Khumalo, who is the CEO of the National Lottery Company. How did you get in there?
Well, we saw an opportunity and we responded to an RFP, a request for proposals. We put together a consortium consisting of some major South African investment organizations in the so-called BE space, as well as an international partner. We entered our bid for the license, contested, and won. And we are now running the National Lottery under the auspices of our company, Gidani.
Right. Do you find there's a moral dilemma? Because here's the thing about the lottery. People say you're in an economy that has grave inequalities, rich living side by side with the poor. But it's the poor who are playing the lotto each day. It is them using their meager income to try to win this one lottery. And it's a vulnerability. It kind of feeds into a vulnerability in society. I'm being a moralist here, but do you have a moral dilemma?
Not at all. I have experienced people who are very discerning when they play. There's a number of opportunities that as a human being you'll pursue on a day-to-day. And research, market research that we've conducted shows you an impressive picture of people who decide how they use their rand. If you look, for instance, at things as they stand now, you will find a very, very interesting picture in terms of the choices that people make. Right. So we have different games. People play different games, and we lay emphasis on different games, and we are across the spectrum. Recently, we launched some games for which we are targeting, through which we are targeting the upper echelons of the market. In other words, the higher LSMs, and they are responding as such. The good thing, though, about the lottery is that people will always buy a ticket for 350 or whatever they spend, and they'll go and sit at home or go about their business until we do a draw, and they see whether they've won or not. Right. And there's a number of categories where people win. It's not only the jackpot. And we are the only area in the games of chance that is giving at the moment a spectrum of divisions for winning and good prizes at that. So we're comfortable. We're comfortable.
Okay, I want to win a prize. But the one good thing, though, and this is sort of a redemption issue, is that the lottery does give money towards charity, and just recently 20 million towards South African football ahead of the World Cup. Precisely.
And that's not the only amount we've given to football. The NLDTF has announced recently huge amounts that they've given towards sport, towards soccer, towards the Olympic committee, and so on. So we are participating in a number of ways. 34% of our sales, of the proceeds from our sales, go to good causes from revenue. On a weekly basis. At this point, we are standing beyond 3.45 billion rand since we started operating. So yes, indeed, there's a good reason. All right, let's talk about those charitable elements. And this time I'm speaking to this badge you're wearing. Whenever people speak about you, that's a distinctive mark of who you are. Bongani Khumalo will always wear an AIDS badge, and that's been the case for the last decade. Why your involvement in AIDS? I am a lifetime conscript in the fight against HIV and AIDS. I started working against HIV and AIDS in 1986 when I worked with the late Professor Robin Sher of Wits University. I played a role of a communicator and he played the role of a scientist. I grew to understand the threat then of HIV and AIDS, and things that he was talking about, that we were talking about, have come to pass. In each and every job, I have been blessed with an opportunity to take responsibility for the campaign against HIV and AIDS, and that includes my corporate roles. So it is something that has become my second nature. But you become affected when HIV and AIDS touches your sphere of life, either in the workplace or in your own familial setting. You know, not only communities, but relatives, family becoming infected and affected by HIV and AIDS. That, therefore, makes your senses even more sharpened.
Do you think South Africans are sufficiently sensitized? We are the wealthiest country in sub-Saharan Africa. The most valued, over 400 billion rands worth is what this economy is worth. Yet we have the highest infection rates across the African continent. And many people can't reconcile that. Is that the resources for treatment, for awareness are there, but the behavior is not changing. And even in terms of conscientizing corporates around sponsoring medical aid schemes for their employees, coming up with life insurance for HIV, the pace is very slow. Why do you think consciously we haven't embraced this issue?
There is a tendency in human nature to go into some form of denial or the other. It's been very, very disappointing because everybody, you know, this, I'm now quoting President Jacob Zuma 10 years ago, roughly, when he was chairman of SANEC, saying that everybody capable of comprehending knows about HIV and AIDS, and they understand HIV and AIDS. But the problem is changing behavior. You know, people don't seem to change, don't seem to protect themselves, don't seem to abstain where they should abstain, they don't seem to practice the ABC. You know, that is the problem that we're facing. But in terms of awareness, awareness is very high. And recently, there's been a stepping up on the part of government, not only of VCT, which is voluntary counseling and testing, but also making antiretroviral drugs available to all infected people. That is good, and that should be encouraged. Right. I am advocating now for clans, like in my case, the Khumalo clan, for clans to have their own way of looking at their own health circumstances, talking about HIV and AIDS and other challenges and so on within the familial settings, providing support, etc. Because if you do not use the family unit as another way of combating HIV and AIDS, you could be losing some grounds that could be useful.